it allows our audience to have a perspective that's balanced, that it's not just, the vendors talking to them, it's the community, it's analysts, it's technologists, it's customers, practitioners. So they get a full perspective that's unfiltered.
It's interesting, the TED conference, the $8,000 a ticket annual conference, used to be amazing material, amazing talks, 18 minutes long, but you could only see it if you bought a ticket. Then they started making the talks available online, and the argument was, well, then who's going to buy a ticket? That's not what happened. That was like a giant ad for going to the actual event. It's like who would go to a rock concert now that you could download their iTunes album? No, that's ridiculous. You want to go to the rock concert more because you've heard them, you want to see them live. So I'd say having journalists here at an event like this fulfills the same purpose. It won't mean that you don't need to go to the conference, but it'll show you what you're missing for next year.
I think it's kind of similar to big data, which is kind of an explosion of sources, and allow people to personalize the streams and select exactly what they want.
These days, with social media, people looking to not just read articles, which are great, and obviously SiliconANGLE does a lot of that as well, but being able to see high-definition video, very intimate interviews with entrepreneurs and operators, innovators in the industry, I think is really important. So the job you do in getting this out in a very timely way, I think is really important.
When you look at the standard groups that are out there today, they report on the general things that have been around forever. Reinventing the news with the independents, I think, is a better format.
The importance of independent media at these events is the difference between having a discussion that's relevant to the audience and having a marketing event that nobody wants to pay attention to. Marketing is important. The vendor needs to get their information out there, but the audience doesn't care about it in its original form. It's not interesting to them. It's not relevant to them most of the time, because there's a variety of customer situations. And what theCUBE can do and what other independent journalists can do is they can come into that event, ask the questions that matter, and make that information that's not relevant something that is relevant, is useful, is actionable to the audience.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic from the standpoint of you guys aren't going to hold back, you're not going to pull any punches, you're going to ask the questions you're hearing from the people here that they want answered to. So I think it forces us to answer the real questions.
It's not scripted, it's authentic, it's, really allows you to communicate quickly, your point of view about who knows what they're going to ask you.
And really to kind of advocate for, the truth, because that's really what customers are looking to hear. I mean, there's a lot of spin, and there's always going to be spin, but I think, it's kind of the no spin zone of big data, right?
I think it's quite important because you hear a lot of messages from a lot of companies and they start to blur, and you need somebody to kind of decipher and really make this a little clearer for the IT community.
The thing that I like about theCUBE is the fact that it's open source media, right? So you guys are telling a story, you're unbiased, you're asking some of the difficult questions in the midst of the dialogue, and you're making it available to anybody who wants to use it in any way. So it's not prepackaged, there's nothing stilted about it, it's the real thing. So it's very valuable to the tech industry.
Unbiased. I didn't know what the questions were ahead of time. They asked some good ones. I think some ones that if it was a biased thing, I don't think we would have got. And I think that's what people want.
So our shareholders ask us constantly for the size of the market, who's doing what, who's your competition. So I love the fact that you guys actually provide completely independent research.
And so I see theCUBE as essential to this kind of sort of new media, and that independence, that youthful independence, I think is a breath of fresh air for the industry. I think it's great.
In my mind, it's kind of like the ESPN, right, of the tech world, right? You guys are everywhere, covering it well, getting all the points down. So that's my mapping in my mind of it, and I think that's a great position to be in.